All right. Hi, everybody. It's Coach K with MajorToCareer.org. Thank you so much for watching. I just thought that I would go live today just so that I can just answer some of the most common questions that I often get on the channel. And I must admit, it is a very, very challenging job market. And I can only imagine if you are about to go to school and you're trying to figure out your majors, you're trying to figure out your careers, and with everything happening, it's a lot. Um, this live is actually in the year 2025. Um, and there's so much that's just happening with the economy. People are just really stressed out. And so I'm just glad that we can just have this conversation. Um, So, what I did was just to compile a few questions that I often get emailed about because not everybody can actually work with the consultation. I do want to let you know that I'm more than happy to consult with any of you that just want to connect one on one. The current consultation rate is a very affordable $50, where we spend an hour of time just to talk about your unique case and what's going on. But this live is a great way to start to have these conversations and answer those questions. So, one of the most common questions that I often get is about how do I know what I can do with my major? It's a very common question. Um, and I have to say, when you are looking at your college catalog, or if you are new to the market, you have been working and are looking at going back to school, and you're trying to figure out what you would like to do, one of the things that I highly, highly recommend, and in every video you guys actually see that I talk about this, I recommend that you always take the time to work backwards. I always recommend looking into your specific markets where you would like to end up working. I recommend 2 to 3 markets. Always, always add a backup market. So if you are thinking about, if you're loving New York City, you would love to be there, then maybe you could add Boston as your secondary market. And then maybe you could add a third market of, I'm just going to throw a random example, maybe a backup market. Maybe that could be Atlanta. Notice that you are putting yourself out there, checking the talent in different geographic locations in an effort to maximize your choices. There's never any harm in having a backup choice. Um, you just never know what's going to happen, and you do not want to walk away empty handed. So, that would be the first tip that I would suggest. So, you have your major. Maybe you're thinking about, and I'll just throw a random example here. You're thinking about pursuing dance, right? You wanted to do dance. You want to be in New York City because maybe you love Broadway. Could be that simple, right? And you want to place yourself in a city or a region where there's multiple opportunities. But you love to be a part of the East Coast. And so you're thinking about Boston, maybe Washington, D.C., maybe because of the proximity to New York. And then you want to pick up a rising market, for example, Atlanta, maybe because, it's a rising within the entertainment industry, arts, and things like that. You're eyeing the Fox Theater, again, throwing hypothetical in terms of you just thinking about your options. So you always want to start that way as you're working backwards. So then what you want to do now with the advent of online technology is you want to then go ahead and do a search in each of these cities. And You could put in a search for choreographer. You could put in a search for maybe a dance instructor. You could put in, all the different job titles that maybe you have gathered from your career advisor at your school, maybe from your high school, maybe from videos like the ones I do on Major to Career. Having job titles is important because what you now want to do is you want to behave as if you've just graduated or you're about to graduate and you are now looking for a job. You want to see what the trends are in the current market. And that's why you're doing that. So you do that Google search. You could plug it in into various job search resources. LinkedIn is definitely a good one, LinkedIn Jobs. So you could put it on there. Glassdoor, another one you could use is Indeed, which is another popular one. Or you could just do a general search, or if you know employers within that area, you could go to their individual websites and just take a quick look and see what's out there. And while you're doing this, you're writing down notes. Never be afraid to see where you'll be after graduation. And one of the reasons why I absolutely, folks, just love doing a search like this is you're going to start to pick things like the salary, which is important. You want to see, how much are they paying in New York City for dance? How much are they paying in Washington D.C.? How much are they paying in Boston? How much are they paying in Atlanta, right? And you want to get an aggregate based on those actual positions. And if possible, what you also want to do is you want to try your best to select entry level opportunities if you can, because you're going to be starting out. And so, I would recommend that you try to be as realistic as possible. So you've identified the major. And this is, again, for anybody new, you're in high school, you're going to thinking about college. You are a professional who's worked for a few years, you're thinking about a change, you're thinking about enhancing yourself by going back to school. You've selected the area, we've used the example of dance, and we have done the first thing, which is identify trends within the market, where you're going to end up, right? And you just want to see the reality of what that looks like. So now that you've done that, you have an idea of what these employers are expecting from you. So if you're going to be a choreographer, you have to be able to teach. You have to be able to be empathetic to others. You have to be able to work with others really well. We'll talk about these skills. You see the employer's ability to, and they'll put it on there. We want somebody who's warm-hearted. We want somebody who has drive. We want somebody who can, work with others in a team. Again, I'm using that one example to kind of show you what those skill sets are. So then what you want to start thinking about is what you can do in that school to help you start to build the resume for that job. Now we're working backwards into what we're doing at school. The number one rule I recommend, and this is what I say it in all my videos, everybody. The number one rule that I recommend is you want to then take the step and map out in the 4 years roughly some of the things that you need to do. And this would be my advice. So in the first year, you want to join a dance club, a student club at that campus, right? You want to engage with others. You want to show that you are involved. So that could be something that, you could work on the first year. Now, the second year, you could look into some type of leadership role within the dance club. So it could be organizing an event on campus. You could be secretary of the club, maybe handling the money, for the events, maybe doing the fun drives. You could also handle the, promotion events, maybe if there's like a marketing position within the club. And remember, it could be a club, it could be an organization, you know, things of that nature. But you're trying to kind of now prepare yourself for these opportunities. You're creating that brand. You're becoming this amazing dance major in using this small step. So second year. So first year, we talked about joining the group. Second year, we talked about growing within the group as a second year student and being involved in probably some of the roles that group involves. Now let's look into the third year of college. This is the year where you must start looking into an internship in dance. Okay. And so, what you want to do that year is you want to go to your career advisor, have 2 years down, you have some experience in college. Maybe now you want to take a look at an opportunity. Now, I actually would recommend an opportunity, everyone, where maybe it's within the community. You may not be in school in New York or Boston or Washington, D.C. or Atlanta. Um, so you may not be able maybe to travel to something, but if the internship is paid, why not? Look through what internships there are in dance. And if there aren't, look within your local area. Are there theaters? Are there performance clubs? Are there, organizations that cater to young people? I know with dance, there's instructors in the area that um, instruct some of the young people in the community. I know that there's like, you know from teenagers to toddlers, you could do dance with them, music and engagement, choreography, for example. So do a Google search within your own community where you're going to school to get that experience and use that. That will be your first direct experience to the major. And a lot of people do it their junior year, though some people can even do it as early as their sophomore year in the summer. So when there's a break in between your studies. So you're seeing how you're starting to slowly build this narrative where you're doing an amazing job. You are just starting to build this brand and this trajectory based on your life experience that prepares you for that particular opportunity. Um, Now, when you get back to school rather, from the experience. So, you are doing this um, as a part of your internship. It's the final summer. You are now to come back that first semester of your senior year. At that time, you want to make sure that your resume, your cover letter has added all those things you've done. It's error free, it's one page, it's business professional for the current job market. And that's what it looks like actually right now for the current job market. So, um, it's that's typically, what it looks like, which is great. So now that you have that, you then want to start to submit applications for post grad opportunities. So typically, a lot of people often ask me, they say, Coach K, when, when can I begin to submit the applications? Um, you do need to submit the applications at least a year out, because if you wait, maybe these positions are filled. But also, a lot of the recruiting that happens for individuals, that happens with employers, particularly who are recruiting from universities, they tend to do it a year in advance because they have relationships with that school. And so they trust in the ability of the talent that they're going to have. And so you do want to make sure that you are beginning that August starting to apply for opportunities. So make sure that you got those business professional materials and start to submit your applications. If there's a career fair at your school and there happen to be, a performance arts employer that visits, then you should definitely go there. And one other thing you could also do is find out if whoever you worked for over that summer is willing to hire you after graduation. You will have your degree by then. You're looking. So always let whoever you did an internship know that you are in the current market and that you are looking. It's really, really important to do that. A lot of people forget about that as well. So um, that's I would say is really the secret in a nutshell, just in having conversations with you guys about, because you know how it is. The job market is very difficult, and you're trying to look for a job, you're frustrated. Um, so that's one thing that I would say. Um, so what have we talked about up to this point? What are the things that can enhance you in the job market when it comes to the major? So I'll kind of tie things together for you because I know it's important. You are a high school student or somebody who's thinking about going to college right now, or somebody who has experience but is thinking about going back to school. You've identified the major or the areas that you wish to focus on. The next step is to look at the market trends. You always want to take a look at the market trends to have a realistic sense on what the pay is, what they're looking for, so that you can develop those attributes while you're pursuing your program, whether it is an Associate of Arts degree or whether it is a bachelor's degree for 4 years or a master's or PhD. And then you need to start to plan roughly how the 4 years will go. The first year, and we use the example of somebody who is brand new to college, right out of high school, interested in dance. I used a hypothetical major example. First year, join a student group, any type of association with people that have that same interest. Second year, get involved, whether it is the marketing for dance, whether it is the promotion for dance, whether it is being a president of that organization or the secretary, somebody just show leadership and growth. It's really important. This is why we talk about transferable skill sets. The employer is going to take a look at those things. When they are asking you these questions about, tell us about yourself, why you're interested in this role, you're going to weave in those things that you've done. It may not be an actual choreographing experience or an actual, dance instruction experience, for example, but it is the things you learned while in college. Third year, junior year, very important. And this can also be the same for the sophomore year. That summer, you want to get some experience in your local community. In the case for dance, it could be a local theater, it could be, um, you know, a dance instructor for toddlers and youth. There's always those in every city where, because toddlers and the youth love to dance, and in all genres, hip hop, classical, jazz, popular music. You could be a music instructor, vice versa. Take a look at your community, see what's out there, pursue that internship. When you get back in August, when you get back to campus of your last year of college, that August, September, you need to start to apply for opportunities. Okay. Um, a lot of employers who recruit people from college, they're always recruiting a year out. It's just how it works. Um, Always. This is probably one of the reasons that it leads to the second question somebody asked about. I get this question a lot in my consultation sessions. Again, remember, you can always schedule a consultation session with me. I charge about $50 per client. We can talk in an hour, just a little bit about your situation, and I can offer you tips and strategies. But, people always wonder, they say, Coach K, I've graduated and I can't find a job. What tends to happen is a lot of entry level positions are taken by a lot of people in school while they're still in school at those major career fairs. I mean, you have employers, tons of employers with opportunities, and they're recruiting, and most people get the offers before they graduate. So you do want to be one of them. You don't want to be left behind. Um, And that's how you do it. And then you start off your career, you graduate. The other things I'll talk about in terms of your major, classes and things like that, the catalog can be very helpful. You do want to maintain a high GPA if you can, because that just shows that you have, you know, passion and commitment for what you're doing. And everybody wants to show that. You want to show that you have passion and commitment to what you're doing. And so I always recommend that. Make sure that you're doing well. With the classes that you have. So I hope that that's useful. I just wanted to do this live because sometimes we can't spend too much time in in the videos because it's a quick snapshot. But I thought that I would introduce live with Coach K Fridays to start off with, so we can chat and we can talk and share ideas. And I'd love to make sure you write any questions you have in the comments, and if I don't answer them in the live today, I can answer them in next week's live. And so yeah. So the other question that I often receive is, Coach K, how do I, what do I do? I have graduated. I didn't get a job before graduation. I'm now back home with mom and dad, and I'm distraught. There's nothing out there in the job market. So I'll address that as well, because that does happen a lot. There's a lot of people out there who, you've gone to college, you've done really well, you're graduating, you're not finding anything. So what would be my suggestions as a coach, a major to career coach? So what I usually do with my clients is the first thing I look at is I always make sure that the basics are covered. We take a quick look at probably a sample cover letter. What have you been using to approach these employers? We look at the resume. Is it error free? Is it business professional? Is it one page? Is it meeting the business standards? Does it have the the transferable skill sets that will allow you to be to be interviewed, right? Now with various recruiters using different methods to scan, we just want to make sure that whatever skill sets you're using are you know really assisting you to get that interview. You want to make sure that you can get heard, so making sure that the resume has those skill sets in the cover letter keywords. So we try to iron that. So that's the first thing you want to try and do, is you want to make sure that you're covering the basics. So once you've done that, what I recommend for a new grad is connecting with your networks. And the most obvious connection is first your school, because they know you just graduated. And so it's the school career fair, career advisors. So, and I help my clients connect with their career advisors. So what I usually do, sometimes I do the work myself, and you can do it too. Go back to your school. Some of your advisors see you by your last name. Some of them see you based on the area you want to work in. A lot of people don't know this, but you are privy to your school's recruiting programs up to a year or two, in some cases, after you graduate. Sometimes you have access to their recruiting platforms, um, for life, actually, in some cases. Um, but I do know most up to a year after you graduate, you do have access. And what will happen is your career advisor and even yourself, you could plan on keeping an eye out on the dashboard for your school's recruiting systems. Recruiting systems, just for you guys to know what I mean, is there's systems like Handshake, Simplicity, Navigate. Um, a lot of schools use Handshake for their undergraduate students, and so going in there, doing kind of seeing the employers that are going to be there. Um, so continuing the recruiting journey and not just staying out of school, because you are from that school. There's employers who have an interest, and some of them actually do post for individuals to actually start a job after graduation. And so you don't want to lose out on that. And so definitely take a look at that. So that would be the first resource, your career advisor and your job search database at your school. I recommend also, because of the advent of what's happening now, folks, I recommend using the existing databases. Um, Indeed is a good one, LinkedIn is a good one. And there's a Google Jobs, you can do a Google search as well within your area, as long as you have the job titles. The thing about doing that type of a search, you do need to have an idea about what you can do. And in the previous example, we've been going with dance, which is just a random example we're using this morning. You want to challenge yourself to figure out the job titles. And in my channel, for every major that I cover in MajorToCareer.org, what I do is I attempt in the video to talk to you about several titles that you can look into based on that major, because sometimes that's the trouble. You don't know what to look out for, right? Like, not everybody knows if you're pursuing a dance major, you need to look for things like a dance instructor or choreographer, um, a music, you know, a, a talent agent, for example, or I'm just throwing some random examples there, but you know what I mean. You catch my meaning with those. You need help to kind of see what's in the market. And that's very important. So you can check my channel. And what I actually do for every major, including those I haven't covered in my channel. So if there's any major that you like that I have not covered in my channel, just send me a message and I'll definitely give you the PDF. So I do have the curated PDFs, which list every single area you can pursue within that major that I have been able to find. Um, every single employer, so you know generally what to look out for, types of employers, and then exactly what you need to do in school that will make you attractive for that area. These curated PDFs are very cost effective. If you go to MajorToCareer.org, scroll to curated PDFs and order yourself one. Um, and I think I'm running a special right now where they're just $10 a piece, because a lot of high school students, the typical price I think is $20 for the PDF, um, 20 to 25. But I'm running a special right now for $10 because for a lot of people, especially in a lot of universities, this is the time when a lot of students who have just started are trying to commit to a major. So you might want to order multiple PDFs. So there's a special going on for that. So go to MajorToCareer.org and scroll to curated PDFs, make that order, and it will be out your way. But that's what you need to do. Now, once you have those job titles, then you want to use those databases I've talked about, and it could be whatever database you choose to look for the jobs. I recommend whenever you are a graduate, you didn't get a job before graduating, so you are now looking and you're stuck. Try to be a little bit open. I'm not saying you need to commit anything. I always tell a lot of my clients that I work with, you don't have to commit, you don't have to commit immediately. Don't worry about, man, do I want to live there? Do I want to just apply? But you have to apply to multiple markets, because testing the waters and testing the markets is a very good idea. Nothing wrong with seeing where you're going to be the most lucrative, you know? And then markets might surprise you. You may want to do dance in New York City, but you might end up in North Carolina because there's maybe fewer of you competing for the same positions, and there might be a need with families there to have dance instruction and choreography. I'm just giving an example. So challenge yourself to think of markets. And what I do with a lot of my clients that I work with is I tell them, think of markets as, fun places you'd love to live, maybe places where you have family, friends. You may not have major commitments, married with children, for example. So when you think of the geographic locations where you want to live, it could be certain parts of the country, but it has to be more than one. It could be Atlanta, Boston, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and LA. Throw in Iowa, North Carolina, just see what's out there. We have all these states. You just never know where your career might lead to. I am a huge fan. A lot of my education in career services is the chaos theory of the careers, where you trust the process, you have this major, you've graduated. I understand the frustration. I've worked with thousands of students, and it's hard. The current market is hard, but if you just challenge yourself to think broadly and not just look in specific areas, you never know where that might lead. So, something for you to think about as well. So, just to kind of compile everything for you, if you've been listening about my recommendations for that common question on what to do if you have a major, you've graduated, and you're looking and you feel lost. You've applied to so many things, nothing's working. That would be the suggestions that I would have. So the first thing you want to do, you want to do the basics, cover the basics, look at your documents, are they industry standard? And whoever you work with, whether it's a coach in your community, whether it's with me, I do consultations for $50 for my clients. But anybody can do this. Take a look at your cover letter, take a look at your resume. We just want to cover the basics, make sure everything is industry standard. Then we want to go back to school, because the databases at your schools for jobs are still active. You can use them up to a year after graduation, whether that is Handshake, Simplicity, Navigate. There's all these different systems. Um, and you want to get back on there and look for the employers that are looking for you. You also want to connect with your career advisor as well. So even clients that work with me, I still help them by going to their school so I can do the research for you, find out exactly who you need to talk to and let you know. And you can be looking at those options, but at the same time also using the external databases. We have Indeed, we have LinkedIn, which are really good, Google. And using those databases, you would need to have a job title in mind. You can't just look aimlessly. And so what I provide, for example, in my YouTube channel, Major to Career, is the curated PDFs for every major. Even though it's not covered in the channel, I have it. I just probably haven't gotten to it yet. And I provide, the PDF has complete job areas, employers, and what you need to do in college in order to prepare for those careers. So I have that ready for you. So I send it to you. And then you then want to use those to do that Google search and, be able to search. So those are the tips. So that is a common question that I often get. A lot of people, ask, and I just thought, again, do a live. I think I'm going to do live Fridays. So if you happen to watch this live later and you find this information rewarding, just to have the interaction, that would be great. And you can even, comment below any questions that you might have. I am happy to answer those for you as well. So let's take a look at some of the other questions that I get, some of the questions that you folks email me after you see my videos, that I do, just so I can answer them for you. So I'm going to quickly take a look at my phone and see other common questions that I get. So salary information. Okay, this is a really good one. So yes, so one of the things that I try and do, and this just comes from practice, is I try to give everybody that I work with an accurate sense based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics data, um, what the anticipated entry level salary might be. And remember, when it comes to salary, it varies by state. It also varies by job and it also varies by experience. So there's layers to this. Um, Entry level simply means that you do not have experience, you have not had professional experience after college. You may have done an internship which allowed you, and you could talk about that, and that sometimes could help you leverage yourself. But this is the first time that you're holding a full-time job. If you already have actual experience, then for you, the salary would be the median. So, whatever in my videos I cover as the median salary range is the range that you will be looking at. But for a lot of, the viewers that watch my channel who are from 20 to 35, but also older now because the markets are changing now, um, entry level is when you don't have the experience. So that's what you need to plan and earmark for. And I try to be, now I use pay scale, I use Glassdoor because people self-report. Glassdoor is really good because people actually tell you how much they're making. And it's so helpful for people for their planning, just to know exactly what it is. Cost of living is also a factor that you should consider. But one of the things I always tell my clients when it comes to salary is to remember, think of benefits as well. What are you getting? Is it remote? Is it hybrid? Is it in person? How many days off do you get? Do you have obviously the basics, health insurance, things like that? But you could negotiate, schedules, things like that. There's different things that you could negotiate. You could ask for, um, you know, if they can give you a relocation amount, if they can give you a bonus, a signing bonus, to get you started. Sometimes that can boost you when you're starting the career. So I hope that helps with that question about, talking a little bit about salary. And I probably on the channel need to do a video on salary as well, just so that you guys can have an idea. So really good questions. Um, I think I'll stop this live, my first live. It's so good to, be on here and talk to you guys in real time outside of the videos from my office, home office here. But I did also want to take a moment and recognize the times we're in. Um, it's very challenging. There's a lot of anxiety. You might be feeling like, what do I do? I just, maybe you are back out there in the market. Um, Maybe you are going into college and you're just kind of thinking about how cost of living, maybe the major you're thinking of is doesn't have the return on investment that you had hoped. Maybe you've done your research the way that I have recommended. And one of the things, folks, that I also recommend is to take a look at my blog. Um, it's lifted in the description box as well, but it's majortocareer.blogspot.com. And in my blog, I give you, the foolproof, guaranteed to enable you to be successful 5-step approach you can use when you are working your major towards your career. But it's difficult now. I do want to say this though. These career ebbs and flows, the market as we call it fluctuates, it goes up and down. There will be a new market, and you just have to make the best of what you have. and you just have to strategize differently. You have to have a recognition of what's going on and make the best decision based on the circumstances you have. So that means that you can't compare this market with the last year's market, with other people that you know who may have graduated in a different market. It's not fair to do that because this is a completely different market. And everybody will tell you about the different markets that they are. And so, um, I just want to take this moment and tell you that professionals like myself are here. We will do our best to help you with the basics if you need it. We will do our best to give you everything that you can do to maximize your opportunities and be able to advise you based on that. But this is the type of market where there's going to be compromises that you're going to make, but it's not going to be forever. That's one thing I'm seeing. That's a trend I'm seeing in major to career at this time is, folks, going with what they have and securing opportunities to make an income, to have their benefits. And like I said, markets do change and evolve. So something to think about as well. This has happened before. This is not the worst case. You're not the only one. So, you know, um, please know that the support is there. All right. So I think that's what I will cover with this live today. It's my first live for Major to Career. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I hope that I was able to maybe answer some of the burning questions that you have. And you may have more. So I'd love to know what you guys would like to cover, in the future. So please, please, please send me an email or put it in the chat, in the comments. After this live is over, let me know what you would like me to cover for next week's live, just so that I can have that as well. And I think I will wrap it up here for now. Thank you for reaching out as always. And remember, education is the key to your future. If you're graduating this December, congratulations. And if you are new to college and this is your first semester and you have happened to connect on this channel because you're curious about what to do with your major, I hope that the channel remains useful. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until my next live, this is Coach K. Bye.